Are you guys doing all right? That was insane. I'll save all my talking for our guest. So let's see. 12 Grammy Awards, The Dead Weather, The Raconteurs, The White Stripes, 3 solo albums. He's to my right. Welcome back, Jack White, everybody. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much for playing here in our HD Radio Soundspace.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is your second appearance here. Lazaretto, when you released your second full length, is when you were here, and you're back. And I'm just curious, is it with people 2 feet away? Is it easier? Is it more difficult to play, or it doesn't matter to you?
I like it better because we were all. We're all breathing the same air. It feels good. Everyone has the same energy. Yeah.
Also, so you played some new songs, and man, they sounded so good. The brand new record is out called Boarding House Reach. Many of us have seen you for 20 years play, and you always make it look so easy up here no matter what you're doing. But is it plain, and I know it's not, but playing the new songs, where do they rank in terms of easy or difficult compared to previous stuff you've done?
The rehearsals for the new songs have been the most difficult. In the White Stripes, there's just 2 instruments, so that was different than 6 instruments. So but also the arrangements of the songs and the editing of the album was different. So they were very complicated. Lots of drum loops, samples, triggers, synthesizers, lots of tones I've never used on stage before. So very complicated. It took a lot of memorizing, but it's also memorizing it so we can forget it, because I want the songs by the end of the tour to sound completely different than they did today. You know.
And do you still feel, or do you?
But you
feel...
got them better. They're better today.
The first song of the set was Over and Over and Over. And when I first heard this song, I'm like, man, this feels a little bit like influenced, and you could throw a pie at me because I'm so wrong, but like Zach from Rage Against the Machine and Chuck D, not content, but delivery.
Sure, yeah.
What inspired that track? What were you listening to? And is a newer one that you recorded, or you've had that one for a while?
I sent a couple of tracks to Tom Morello. He's one of my favorite guitar players, and told him, there's definitely some Rage DNA in this album in spots, so you're not wrong. I don't intentionally ever try to copy anything in the past. When I record an album or write songs, I don't listen to any other music. I turn off the radio in the car. I listen to only what I'm working on, so I don't get influenced by anything. But that comes out naturally. Whatever's inside of your head comes out. So there'll be something like this, sounds like Howlin' Wolf here, or something like that, sounds like whatever. So yeah, that song has a bit of that. But that song is very old, too. It's the only time I've ever done that with a song. That song goes back to maybe like 2005. I've been working on that song. So I just never felt right. I worked on it with the White Stripes, with the Raconteurs. I recorded it with the Dead Weather, recorded it with Jay-Z, and recorded it with my first solo album, and then recorded it again. I don't know why I kept doing it. It's ridiculous. And finally, it worked and felt like something. So
nice. I'm curious how your brain ticks when it's time to finally give all the songs to the world. There's no more tinkering. They are done. Is it excited feeling? Is it nerves, or something in between?
This album was a little bit different because I knew the songs are a lot more, they're complicated, and they're not first listen kind of songs. They're third, fourth listen kind of songs. And I don't know, so it's hard to say. I don't know in the age of nowadays, the attention span of the internet and Netflix and everything, all the competition for entertainment and music. There's so much coming at everybody all the time. You hope that if you're going to connect with people, that they can give something a chance. If you're making a film, that people will watch it and try to absorb it. But you know what? You can just only do so much. If it feels right to you, you can say, well, it feels right to me. Hopefully other people will get something out of it. If they don't, well, try again some other time.
Right. But I totally agree with you. Sometimes, and I've been guilty of it a little, like we need to be more patient. Like, it's not a one-time listen. Like, let's go through the whole thing 3 or 4 times, and we'll see like well, there's a line here in Connected by Love, like basically we're going to take the worst of everything and somehow we're going to make that our best. That one little line grabbed me so much, man. Recording of the album, Boarding House Reach, you just didn't do it in Nashville. Why did you come to LA? Why did you do it in New York?
You know, I've never recorded in LA or New York, and I like small environments, and you know, like I've recorded Memphis, Nashville, Detroit. It's sort of like not that many people around. You know, it feels like I don't know, less claustrophobic for my brain or something like that. So I thought, but this time I want to work with strangers, and I want to work with musicians from that played live in the hip hop world, like with Kanye and Kendrick and Jay-Z, and musicians who are from that environment, who can reproduce on stage live what's recorded on in a studio, like samples and drum machine, drum beats, those kind of things, reproduced live. That kind of special musician who has that kind of talent. So that's what I was trying to reach out for, and watching videos and saying, who's that guy playing on this stage or there? And luckily we found a lot of people who were willing to come and try it out. And it was great to be in a room with strangers, because the energy is so different than with if you're in a band with people for years. You play differently. You don't know what the other person's like, so you're speaking just the language of music together. You're trying to find some common ground.
And when you're in the room with the strangers, are you bringing in songs that are done and like, guys, this is what I'm thinking, what can you bring to it? Or do you say, I'm going to press record, let's just try something from scratch?
Well, in a room with strangers, it brings me back to my prison days, because when you were in a room with strangers, you basically played what they told you to play.
I think that makes sense.
You guys want to hear some Bing Crosby songs? That's what I would, things like that.
The very last song on the new record.
I went to a prison in the 40s, but.
One thing that I've always wanted to ask you, and we've hooked up over the years a little bit in terms of talking, is did you start Third Man Records all those years ago because of the experience you had in music before that, or was it more of an entrepreneurial spirit growing up?
We initially did it when the White Stripes got signed. We felt we should have our own label to sort of protect ourselves, because we were scared about being on a major label. So we thought, well, we'll make up our own label called Third Man Records, because I had Third Man Upholstery was the name of my upholstery shop. So we sort of made up a fake record label to protect ourselves, and then it ended up being real as time went on. I produced a band Whirlwind Heat, and we released their album. And then by 2009, I was in Nashville, and I was looking for a place to store my gear, and we found a building. We thought, oh, we also got my vinyl rights back. So I said, why don't we reprint our early vinyl records? Baby step, baby step. Then we had a live venue. Now we have poetry readings. We have Third Man books. We show avant-garde films. Bands can record straight to acetate in front of a crowd, straight to tape if they want to. We have a recording booth in the store if you want to record your own record and mail it home. There's so many things you can do there now. And it's all for everybody else. It's for you guys. It's for artists. It's for everybody. So.
I heard you say something recently, and maybe it was talking to being here, but it got me very excited how you have seen some younger rock artists recently maybe recording, and you have very high hopes on the next few years and the future of rock music. Is that true, and can you expand on that a little?
Yeah, I think when you have to look at your own different environments where you go. If you go to see clubs every week, or if you listen to music on the radio, what you're into. I mean, at Third Man, we have a lot of different music. We have bluegrass and blues musicians, country musicians, rock and roll, punk. So much music comes through that building. Most of them are young bands coming up, and it's great to see where they're coming from, what their influences are, and where they're headed, the new things they're trying to do. And it just feels like in the last couple of years that's been bubbling up into some really exciting things. So I'm really excited for it.
Before you put out White Blood Cells all those years ago, there were 2 White Stripes albums out before that, and you definitely had some traction, and people knew who Jack White was, and you were making noise. What were your expectations, and did you have any when the third one came out?
I think that, Meg and I were just assuming that we were just going to play in clubs for a few years. That's what we thought. We thought our band was so strange that nobody would in the mainstream would like what we were into. So it was, 50 people here, 20 people there, 5 people in Fargo, North Dakota or something. That was it, and all of a sudden 3 albums in, people started being interested in the band. It was very strange to us, so we kept going with it. I think it was really Meg, because it's, her appeal, what she brought to the band was this amazing minimalism that broke things down, much like a lot of the artists like in the Cubist movement or things like that, in the Distill movement in the 20s, that what she was bringing to me was reeling me in. I would write a song, she would reel it in, and it would become minimalistic and very much more powerful. It was powerful than if we had 3 guitar players in the band. But that's all due to her and the beauty she brought to the music.
Wow. Awesome. We've touched on the rock and we've touched on hip-hop. Is there an era that you love? Is it lyrics that you love of hip-hop, or is it just the music that grabs you?
Well, I go back, growing up in Detroit, it was sort of like, I've been sort of, keeps popping in my head, this story recently, just the way we would, I don't know if you guys played Foursquare in LA as much as we did in Detroit, but our thing was to take a can of white spray paint and paint a Foursquare on the street, because you can do that in Detroit, and nobody cared. And we would play Foursquare, and someone would set up a boombox on the side, and we would just listen to hip-hop all afternoon, LL Cool J, Run DMC, and it was just amazing how much of that is just in your blood, by thanks to Foursquare.
And jail. Last 2 things here, and I have to pull out a card for the very last one, and I'll get to it. But I want to touch on something Chris Rock said to you, which I read in Rolling Stone, and he basically said, Jack, no one gives an F how you did it, they just want the product. Do you agree with that, or you don't agree with that?
I don't know. It's confusing to me. He was first referring to Jay-Z. You know how Jay-Z when he raps and he records, he doesn't write anything down, which is beautiful and brilliant. And he was sort of telling me that he joked with Jay that no one cares that you didn't write it down. No one cares how you do things or something like that. It was just a joke he made, but it was kind of a joke that stuck in my head, because I very much care about how things are done, and maybe to the point of super. Too much. I want to be able to defend. I know what microphone was used. I know that was a Leslie revolving cabinet, and I know that was a Hammond B2 compared to a Hammond B3. And you start realizing, a lot of people don't care about that stuff, But so this album, I thought for myself and for what he had told me, maybe that was a good sort of omen, that I want to have the sound that I have imagining in my head on this recording. I don't care how I get there, if it's analog, digital, computer, or a real person, whatever. I want to get to that sound. If it's a real kick drum, great. If it's a synthetic kick drum, great. But I want to get to that sound. And we got there in 100 different ways. Real musicians, drum machines, synthesizers, people playing real pianos. It didn't matter. We got to these sounds that I wanted. So that was the point. And
I love knowing that stuff, by the way. Do you guys love Jack, we've all grown with you over all these years, and from day one, you're the musician we look to who bleeds on stage and sweats and puts in his all, and everything has to be a certain way, and you stick to your guns. If you were just like, it doesn't matter, but that's what makes you who you are, I think. So, thank you. Thank you guys for being such a nice audience, and thank you again to Jack. Okay, I'm going to get you out of here on these 3 questions. Have you ever watched a TV series where the first 3 words are Real Housewives of?
I'm not going to lie, I do not know what you're talking about, let alone see that. Is that a good thing? I don't know.
That's fine. Now, the answer for me on this one is 100%, but for you, within the last 2 years, have you been to a Waffle House, Denny's, or IHOP?
Oh, yeah, Waffle House for sure. Many is the time where my children will be jumping on top of my chest, screaming the words Waffle House in the morning. Which is funny, because in prison, the same thing would happen. Hang with me, this is a long story, but forget it.
Last one here. Better guitarist, Jimmy Fallon or Conan O'Brien?
Johnny Carson was a great drummer, by the way. Thank you very much.
Boarding House Reach.